for joining me for a very special edition of Diecast Emporium Live. Hope everyone had a great, almost said Thanksgiving, a great Christmas. So the theme of today's video, and feel free to ask anything diecast related, is going to be taking a look at my 187 scale military vehicle collection. It's obviously been updated with an emphasis on the vehicles that were used in Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm in 1990 and 1991. Most of these are made by Rocco mini tanks. You'll also see some from Herpa. You'll also see a couple actually from Matchbox and Trident, as well as Arsenal M, to name just a few. Now, if you are new to joining one of these Diecast Emporium live streams, the way that we go about doing this is if you guys have any comments or questions throughout, feel free to use the chat feature. And of course, if you do wish to support the channel, Super Chat and stickers are also activated, so you can use those if you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, the theme of this video is going to be my 187 scale military vehicle collection, but the stuff that was only used in 1990 and 1991 for Operation Desert Storm. So starting off, we have an M929 military dump truck. So this is by Mini Champs, and this is the only one I have that actually is in the jungle camouflage. I really like this. Now, most of these vehicles, even though, again, the theme is 1990 and 1991, as a matter of fact, I'm looking closely here, I think all of these are actually still in service today. So here's the M929. Now, the M929, they had a bunch of different variations of this truck. Obviously, they had dump trucks, they had cargo trucks, they had wreckers, tractors, obviously, which is kind of what you see back there. Just about everything you can see they had. This one is outfitted with the Bigfoot tire package. So there's not two wheels on the back, as you can see on each axle. There's only the extra large and wide Bigfoot tires. And it might be really hard to see on camera. I'm going to try and get it to zoom in, but doing these live sessions, it's almost impossible to get anything to zoom in. But the tires actually have Michelin on the sidewall, which is quite impressive for a 187 scale model. And it does dump, of course. So that's the M929 dump truck. Let's get into, obviously, what everybody is certainly going to recognize as the Hummer, but in the military, they're called the Humvee. So this is the M1036, which is the standard Humvee configuration, the slant back Humvee configuration. This one has the tow missile carrier, which you can put, obviously, a tow missile carrier on it. You can put a 50 on it. You can put a Mark 19 grenade launcher on it, again, by Rocco mini tanks. I have not done much with this one. You can see I haven't detailed the front, and obviously I haven't finished putting the kit together, but quite an impressive vehicle. So that's the M1036. Then we have the M1037, which is the shelter carrier. You can have a command post here, or obviously carry a couple guys around in this configuration of the Humvee. And then we have, what is this? The M997, which is the military ambulance configuration of the Humvee. This will obviously have your medical crosses on it. But again, all of these, it bears repeating, are in various stages of completion, so bear that in mind. This one I did detail the front and put the mirrors on, etc., etc. Obviously, there's a tow hitch on the back of this as well. So the Humvee, of course, replaced the venerable Jeep that's been around since World War II. Very impressive vehicle, can go anywhere, do just about anything. Continuing on, this is actually something that we used in the Gulf during 1990, 1991, but it's a German vehicle. So the German designation is TPZ1 or Z1. We call it the ABC FUCH. Got to be careful how I say that. Basically, it's a armored personnel carrier that is resistant to biological warfare, chemical warfare, that kind of stuff. And it's obviously a six-wheeled vehicle. So, also by Rocco mini tanks. Continuing with the wheeled vehicles, here we have a 2.5 ton, also known as the Deuce and a half truck. This one is in 187 scale, and it's part of Matchbox Collectibles Premier line that they used to have. You can take the tarpaulin tarp off, and you can see the detail in the back. This is the way they came. Very nice model. And this would have been the era or this type of truck that would have been used during that time period, the late 80s and early 90s. So that's your Deuce and a half. But what if you wanted something twice as big? Well, we've got that too. So this is the 5-ton truck, which is the M923 was the military designation for this. If it had a winch on the front of this, it would be the M925. The military is crazy. They have designations for literally everything. But basically all you need to know is this is the 5-ton cargo truck. You can take the tarp off of this as well, which I'm going to do very carefully because, again, nothing is glued down. So this can haul gear, guns, guys, whatever you need. And you will never win any war. I've said this before, especially during the Military Monday segments. You will never win any war or conflict anywhere without your supply trucks. Also, you can open up your hood and see a detailed engine inside. Love these mini tanks trucks. They're great. All right, next up. This is the M936A1. So this would have been a wrecker that would have been utilized. One of my little lights popped off, see? So this would have been like a wrecker / small crane that would have been used to take disabled vehicles out of the way. This actually does feature a working crane that you can move and rotate and spin and do all kinds of fun stuff. Obviously, I am still working on this one, so there's some pieces that are not really dry yet. But quite a nice model. You can see some tanks and stuff on the back. And also, I left the engine in here green because a lot of these trucks, especially for the Gulf, a lot of them actually arrived in either jungle camouflage or olive drab green. And what they did is they would set up tents. And they literally would take these vehicles in, spray them desert tan or sand color, and then send them straight on. It's kind of, ridiculous to think that as recently as 1991, that's how things were resorted to. But that's how things worked in Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. And actually, if you do read about it, there's a lot of people, unfortunately, and vets that suffered some ailments from doing a lot of those respray tents and such. Okay, how about some Hemps, or Hemets, as I've known them by. This is the M977, which was the standard cargo version of the Hemet truck. Again, these have 17,000 different variations. The cargo version had a small pail finger crane at the back of it. There is a palletized loading system, which is essentially one that literally can take a cargo container on the back, put this on. Parker, the tow truck, is Rocco mini tanks, and this is Boley, actually. This one is Boley. So it's not that detailed. But these have been in service since 1982 and still getting the job done. So this is a very low-level model. I think when these were out by Boley, they were $2 or $3. You can still find them on eBay. Now, here's another Hemet. This version, obviously, is much, much more detailed. This is the M978. So you have the 7.7 and now the 7.8. This is the fuel tanker version. This by Rocco Mini Tanks. This one has your rubber Bigfoot wheels again with Michelin side branding on them. Fire extinguishers up here, your fuel tanks on the side, mirrors, handles, grab rails, even a tow hitch on the back, and even some tie-down points or cables at the front. Even a spare tire on this side. Now, after the war, and after these get phased out with service, when they're done, there's been many fire departments that actually buy these and turn these into water tankers. So you may have seen some of those. All right, and the last wheeled vehicle that we have to take a look at. Now, this was actually not the tank transporter that they had during the Gulf War. Now, a lot of people may think, well, didn't they have the Oshkosh, what was it, the 1070 designation with the 911 trailer? They didn't. They had a different Oshkosh tractor. I don't have an example to show you of that, but the actual HET, or the heavy equipment transporter, that did not enter service until after the Persian Gulf War. So this is something that would have been around. Again, I think this is, what is this, the M931 tractor. Again, it would have been a 932 if it had a winch on the front of it. But this would have been hauling, and this flatbed trailer would have been hauling, some disabled Humvees or Deuce and a halves or something, or maybe even vehicles like the Ace that you'll that you will see here in a minute, but this certainly is not rated or heavy enough to carry an Abrams tank around. Okay, let's get on to some tracked vehicles, shall we? Before we do that, let's take a moment to get caught up on chat here, because I see it popping up. Looks like there's quite a few of you in the room, so welcome everyone. Allison says hi. Emily Drake says hi, and let's go. Allison says nice trucks. Emergency Vehicle says, can you reveal fire trucks? I've already done a live session with fire trucks. You can look those up. Lewis says good afternoon. Digger Evans says that's a nice truck. Parker says, Merry Xmas, nice. I got a 1990s Herper Freightliner, cab over Texas Oil Company, and I got a Road Tramps Matchbox cab over. Very nice. Yes, it's Fuch, not the other one. Christian says hello. Yes, we were just talking about CCMs over on another social media platform, so welcome to YouTube Live. Also, he asks me, is $670 fair for a 390? Yes, I would say that's very fair for a 390 CCM model. So it looks like we're caught up. All right, let's continue. Again, if you're just joining us, we're going over my collection of HO or 1:87 scale military models that I have been working on amassing over the years. Picked up a few of them very recently. These specifically were used in the Persian Gulf War, Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm, 1990 and 1991. So here we have the M60, which is the Armored Vehicle Launch Bridge, the model that you see, made by Bully. Very cheap model, but it has really everything you'd want. You can put this down, and you can open up your scissor. Some people call these scissor bridges as well. Military people get upset with you if you call them scissor bridges. So you put this thing down, and this is rated that actually a fully loaded and weaponized M1 Abrams tank could drive across this if the ground is prepared enough for this to go down on. So essentially that's what this vehicle does. These have been around since Vietnam in one form or another, and they're based on, I believe they're based on like an old M60 tank chassis, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so what do you do if one of your big vehicles breaks down and you need something to haul it around and put it on a trailer and take it to a forward operating base, maybe, and get repairs done? Well, you call in one of these. This specific version is the M88A2 Hercules, but the M88s have been around again since Vietnam. This is I put some notes down, hold on. This is a armored recovery vehicle, but the Hercules version, the A2 version, stands for Heavy Equipment Recovery Combat Utility Lifting Extraction System. And again, been around since 1961. This is an Arsenal M resin kit, the model. And as you can see, need to get some better glue. The dozer blade kind of fell off the front of it. But essentially, this is a large boom with a crane hook on the back of it, and you can kind of position this wherever you want. And this can load disabled vehicles such as Bradleys or Abrams or whatever onto trailers, and as I just mentioned, take them to where they can be repaired should they sustain some damage. So there you go. That's the Hercules. Another specialized track vehicle, again, still in use today. This is the M9 ACE, which stands for Armored Combat Earthmover. Now, this serves the purposes of not only a bulldozer, but also a scraper and somewhat of a front loader. So obviously you have your large dozer blade at the front for a bulldozer functionality, but you can also raise this up carefully like this, and you can fill this up if you need to move dirt from one place or another. So there's your scraper functionality, or you can load it, obviously, which is kind of your wheel loader functionality. So obviously a very versatile vehicle, and used in every major conflict really since the mid-'80s. And the combat engineers who use them absolutely love them. It has no defensive armaments, unfortunately, or offensive armaments, I should say. You're not going to see a gun on this, but it does have some smoke grenade launchers, so at least it can hide itself. The idea there being if you can't see it, you can't shoot it. That's what these are. These are smoke grenade launchers. So that's the M9 ACE. Again, another vehicle that's been around since Vietnam. Most of you guys will recognize this. Maybe you've seen it before. This is the M113 APC Armored Personnel Carrier. Again, tons of different variations of these. Some of these nowadays have surface-to-air missiles on them, command and control centers, troop carriers. This one is an Arsenal M kit, I believe. No, it's an AlsaCast kit. Resin kit, doesn't matter. Both of those make resin kits. Very nice model. Lots of details, such as some extra drive wheels, your jerry cans, ammo boxes, etc., etc. And I believe this is is that a 60? Is that a 60 gun on there? Might be an M60 gun. Either way, we've been using those for quite a while. Now, another variation of the M113 is this little guy. So this is a command post carrier designated the M577A1, made by the Food Machinery Corporation. Again, been around since Vietnam. And this guy would basically set up a small command and control style tent, which is what this is. And you just basically, he would back up and then deploy this tent. So you'd have your TOC or Tactical Operations Center behind the lines if you needed it. So basically an M113, but with a very specialized responsibility. Okay, let's check chat real quick before we continue on. All right, nice trucks. The random blind guy has joined us. He says, hello. What's up, bro? Not much. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Happy holidays to you. O-Gauge Trains has also joined us. He says, hello, everyone. So hello back. Okay. All right, let's continue on. Again, if you guys have any questions or comments, and we will do some Q&A, or we will do a couple suggestions if you guys want to see some things once we get at the end of this video. So get your suggestions and questions in. So this is a mobile launch rocket system, or the MLRS, designated the M270. So this tracked vehicle can fire 12 rockets at once if it needs to. It can also rotate 360 degrees. Been around since the 80s, I believe. And these are constantly, as with all of these, you might be thinking to yourself, man, some of these vehicles are getting really outdated, especially the M113s that have been around since the 60s. Why are we still using this stuff? Well, because they're constantly getting, new electronics or new armor or new weaponry. So while the stuff is old, it stays in frontline service because it's still relevant and it's still good. It's the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. So this is your mobile launch rocket system, your artillery battery piece. But let's say you need some bigger shells going downrange. You call in one of these guys. So this is your M109. This version is the latest version, one of the latest versions, referred to as the Paladin, but again, something that's been around since Vietnam. So this is a 105.5 millimeter self-propelled howitzer, self-propelled gun. Really, if you need any kind of artillery support or firepower, this is really what you want in your backyard. This thing can just lob rounds wherever you need it to go, miles away. And although it looks like a tank, it is not a tank. This is a self-propelled artillery piece. So again, this is not something that can engage enemy armor. This is just an artillery piece. I believe this is made by, let me check. This is made by AlsaCast as well. So that's your M109 howitzer. And not to be outdone, this thing is something that only the United States Marine Corps uses. So this is what we call an Amtrac, which is an AAVP-7A1, which, again, really is just called an Amtrac. That's what it is. It's an amphibious assault vehicle. So this thing is designed to be launched from ships and can come ashore. So kind of your modern-day Higgins landing crafts. It can carry a fair amount of Marines in the back. They come out here, ready to assault a beachhead with this little flap that drops down right here. And a bunch of your combat-equipped Marines are ready to go cause some hell. Now, this version is the newer version with the turret on the top. So, obviously, you have a couple different weapons here. But the first AAVs did not have any kind of defensive or offensive armament. The only thing that they did have is similar to what the Ace had, and that's grenade launchers, smoke launchers. So, again, if you can't see it, you can't hit it was the thinking there. But this one does have a turret on it with a few different weapons. So that is the Amtrak, again, exclusive to the Marine Corps, at least here in the United States. All right, we're getting towards the end now. How about not one, but two different Bradleys? Now, there's an M2 Bradley and an M3 Bradley. Blink and you may not be able to tell the difference. So the M2 is your infantry fighting vehicle, and your M3 is your cavalry fighting vehicle. Really, there's not much difference, honestly. Again, both are not tanks. They are infantry fighting vehicles or armored personnel carriers. And they do have Bushmaster guns on the front of them. And also, some of them, depending on the designation, will have tow missile launchers to deal with tanks if they need to. But they, again, are not intended to go up against tanks. But the doctrine for these vehicles, the need for these vehicles, was something to keep up with the Abrams tank that could haul guys around. And the guys, of course, like the Amtrak, would drop down from this little gate here, which would fold down at the back. But what is the biggest, baddest thing around? Most people would agree. Well, that's this thing. This is the M1A1 Abrams tank. This thing was critical in winning the Gulf War. The enemy's T-72, T-62 tanks, they didn't stand a chance. There were reports of Republican Guard members literally just throwing their hands up as soon as they saw one of these. A lot of information about this tank, especially the new versions, the A2s, the A3s, that kind of thing, is classified, such as its armor, how far it can go on a fuel load, etc., etc. But really all you need to know is this is the main battle tank of the U.S., and they've been in service since 1980. So that will conclude this video of all of the 187 scale vehicles that I have in my collection from Operation Desert Storm. Now, let's open up the discussion to anything you guys want to talk about. We're coming up here on 23 minutes, so let's go to a half hour if we can. I think that's a suitable length. And then we will close out the video. So let's see where I left off here. Random blind guy asks, favorite Matchbox construction vehicle? That's a great question. Actually, I have it here. So my favorite Matchbox construction vehicle would probably have to be, it's a toss-up, but I would say probably this right here. This is the Matchbox Caterpillar Dirt Machines backhoe that they released in the late part of the 1990s. When this thing came out, I was 7, 8 years old, and there really wasn't a proper backhoe for Hot Wheels or Matchbox. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to go up in price, which it didn't at that age and that time. But when this thing came out, although I was disappointed that, of course, the functionalities were somewhat limited and the outriggers didn't go down, it was nice to have a toy that actually looked like its real-world counterpart. And I think it still holds up today. If you put this on an HO layout, particularly if you have it on a flat car or sitting in a dealership parking lot, it still holds up well today and looks good. So that is my favorite Matchbox construction vehicle. All right, next question. Let's go. Joseph says he's glad to have caught a live stream for once. Well, I'm glad you're here. He also commented that the AAV7 has an M2 50 cal and an MK19. Correct. So we have a one of these up here is a 40 millimeter grenade launcher, and the other one is a 50 cal machine gun. Obviously, on this turret here, both of them are very lethal and deadly weapons. Would not want to be on the receiving end of either one of those. Let's see what else. Bill says he likes the Hemet, the one with the tanker. I would have to agree. I think it's a fantastic model. Here it is again. For those that may be just joining us that didn't get a chance to see it, this is the M978 designation of the Hemet, which I'm going to screw this up because I don't have it written down, but I think it stands for Heavy Enhanced Mobility Tactical Truck, something like that. But somebody can fact check me that has a computer in front of them. Yes, Bill says they are now being used It has fire trucks. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that earlier on in this video, Bill. Joseph says, my favorite Desert Storm vehicle is probably the Patriot missile system. Yes. As a matter of fact, I tried to get one of those outfitted on a Humvee, but I wasn't able to get one of those here in time for this video. So if I do an update to this video, you will see a proper Abrams that isn't a bully piece of crap like this. You will also see the Avenger system and a M578, which is a tracked recovery vehicle, something that we've been using since Vietnam as well. All right, we'll go for about 5 more minutes here, ladies and gentlemen, so get your questions in. Questions or comments, anything model-related is fair game. Doesn't have to be just the subject of this video. Go ahead and put him back. What's my favorite in here? Well, probably... Man, that's a tough question. There's so much good stuff right in front of me. I don't know. Probably because it's a mix of construction and the military. Probably the M9 Ace would be my favorite. Random Blind Guy says, awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all, by the way, for tuning into this video. I know I normally try to announce when I'm going live. This was kind of just a spur-of-the-moment thing. And I know it's a day after Christmas, so there's probably not a lot of you that have a chance to tune into this because you're all busy and spending time with your family, as you should. So, are we all caught up on questions here? So, plans for this coming week. Tomorrow, there's a video on a Komatsu stone handler that premieres on the channel tomorrow morning, Monday, so make sure to check that out, set a reminder. There will be a couple things coming in the mail. I'm hopeful by the end of next week that should get most people excited. CCM 6030s. So be sure to stay tuned for those reviews. The Joseph says, Fox NBC nuclear biological chemical vehicle is awesome. Yes, that is this, which is the vehicle that we stole from Germany or bought from Germany, whichever way. Lend-lease agreement with Germany. I remember that this caused, I remember reading that this caused a bit of a stir because, one, obviously, we were only 40, 50 years removed from the Second World War, and we were buying a bunch of stuff and, almost said a bad word. We were going into agreement and buying a bunch of stuff with Germany, and a lot of people in the military were not happy with that. But it is what it is. I don't necessarily share that same view, but I can understand why some people might be a little upset. So this one also, I didn't mention this because I'm an idiot. I forgot. So if you ever see this little, what do we want to call it? A triangle, maybe? This little black mark here. So they use this marking on pretty much every Allied vehicle in Operation Desert Storm. And that was to identify, what vehicle obviously was friendly and what was part of the coalition and what wasn't. But sometimes it was so crudely applied that people would actually use duct tape. Like if you go and research Gulf War pictures, or if you're fortunate to know some veterans or whatever, they'll tell you that some of the trucks and stuff they saw, it wasn't this nice decal or, markings or whatever. They literally would apply, duct tape or whatever they had around, black electrical tape, to form the Allied markings. So I'm really glad that this one actually has that marked on it. And if anyone from Matchbox ever comes across my channel, please bring the Matchbox collector line back. Whatever you do. Especially since you're now doing premiums again. Premiums. But this is true premium. I mean, look at those wheels. Look at the mirrors. Look at the decals all the way around. This is the stuff you need to start doing. Okay, so we got a minute left of this video, and then we'll wrap it up. So Joseph says the first platoon was the up chevron, second was the left, third was right, and fourth was down. Yeah, I'll have to do some more research. I don't know if that's, I'm assuming what you're saying is accurate, but I will have to obviously research that for myself, but let's assume that you are correct. So that would mean, obviously, if this was the up chevron, right? Is this up or down? I guess I would call that up. So that would be what? First platoon, I'm assuming. This is a supply company. Judging by the other decals that are on the side of the truck, it says supply 2 in yellow. Man, I hope the quality is coming better on your screen. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, he says it's up too. So we would assume that this is up. So first platoon. Either way, it's a supply unit, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much. So we've hit 30 minutes. Thank you all so very much for watching. I truly do enjoy these live streams. It's always great. It's always a thrill for me personally to interact with you guys in real time. That really makes these videos. If you haven't yet, obviously all of you guys are because that's why you're in here. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button. We are over 13,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. I would love to get to 14,000 within a month or two. That's my goal. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up this week and in the near future. So take care, be well. I will see you later.